What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Unparalleled Universe for another action figure review, and today we're going to be talking about the Marvel Select Disney Store exclusive Venom figure. And this figure was really interesting because it popped up out of nowhere. Earlier this year, Diamond Select hinted that there would be one more Marvel Select release this year, and they really didn't say what it was going to be. And, you know, a bunch of people had their guesses and speculations and all that stuff. Nobody had any idea that it was going to be a re-release of the Venom figure that they put out a couple years ago, but it's not a straight re-release. There's a bunch of new things in there, and we're going to get into all that right now. But first off, let's take a look at this packaging, and it's the big, huge Diamond Select packaging that's not collector friendly. Once you open it up, it's garbage, but it does look cool. You can see the figure in there, and then you got some Venom artwork there in the front corner, and on the side you have some more Venom artwork. And I don't remember if this is the same artwork that was on the original release, but the artwork here definitely captures what the figure represents, which is the more monstrous look for Venom. And then on the back we get a look at the figure itself and some other information and stuff like that. You know, as I always say, I like the Diamond Select packaging, but I wish they'd move to the collector friendly direction. But let's get into the figure here. And here is Venom right out of the box. And if anyone has the original release, which is hanging out back there, you're going to be pretty familiar with this body. It's the exact same thing. All the sculpting work is exactly the same. But you know, that's not a bad thing. I think the sculpt still holds up, even though this figure I think is about 5 years old. It still all holds up pretty good. Some of the articulation doesn't hold up as well as I'd like, but the sculpt is definitely there. I like the way that the arms look. They're kind of like longer than they would be like on a normal human. I think that works good for Venom. And yeah, there's just a lot of nice texturing and stuff like that. And we'll get into the 3 head sculpts in a minute, because that is the thing that's new with this figure. It comes with all new head sculpts, so that is awesome. And I like how none of this is just painted on. It's all like sculpted and engraved, and you could see and feel it, so that is really cool. And I do like that this has like a slimy kind of look to it. You know, I mean, that's just kind of the way the plastic looks. It looks a little shinier, but I think that works really good for Venom. And same thing on the back. You got the spider looking all dope right there. You got all kinds of muscles. And look at that. I like that they just didn't do like a smooth Venom, you know. That would have been weird. Yeah, let's take a look, see how he compares to the original release. And I'd say there pretty much isn't really any differences. If you have them, if you're looking at both of them, you could see that the color is slightly different. The original version looks a little more blue, but I feel like whenever this figure was reissued, he looked a little darker. So yours might be as dark as the new one, but I feel like when the first set that came out looked a little more blue, and then they got darker over time, much like this new one here. You got the Todd McFarlane head on the original version, and that's my favorite head by far. That looks awesome. But anyways, so yeah, everything's pretty much the same on this guy. No differences. The sculpt is all the same. So, you know, a lot of people probably feel like they don't need to buy this new one if they have the old one, and that's definitely hard to argue with. For me, it made sense because when this original one came out, I was so excited about it. I had it pre-ordered at my local comic book shop, and when it came in, as soon as I opened it, the leg fell off. So this leg is glued on. I glued it on and just stuck it on my shelf and just try not to think about it, because it was probably one of the most devastating things in my action figure life. I was so excited about this Venom, and yeah, it just broke. Luckily, around the same time, Rhino came out, and I liked that figure a lot, so that kind of eased the pain a little bit. But I've always kept this Venom around, and I've just kind of been waiting for a good excuse to buy another one. So I'm really happy about this new Disney Store one. It kind of just works out for me. But yeah, these figures are basically the same. If you have the original, you probably don't need this new one, unless you love these head sculpts. And we're going to look at those in just a minute here. And one big difference between this and the original release is this whole contraption. Usually I'd save something like this until the accessories portion of the review, but since this is pretty much the main difference between the two figures, let's talk about it here. It's pretty much like this symbiote thing that you could just kind of put on his back, and it doesn't really stay on there that good. It fits really loose, but it does look pretty interesting. You've got all kinds of tendrils and things going on. You can move them around. There's different holes that you could plug these things into. So you're not, you know, just to have some variety and change it up. Much like the Revoltech Carnage, you know, but not as extreme. And, you know, I might have to put some blue tack in there to hold it down. But I think that's pretty cool. Again, I think that kind of gives you more reason to maybe want to pick this up if you have the original version. And there he is, just kind of standing there with that symbiote backpack thing. I don't know what you want to call it, but some of these arms are articulated. The two long spear type arms are articulated in 2 points on each one of them. You've got a joint right there and a joint right there. So that's really cool. The only thing I don't really like about this backpack thing is it doesn't really stay onto him, you know? So you might want to put some like blue tack or something to keep it down. On the original version, the Venom Madness pieces were able to kind of clip on and they stayed on there pretty snug. But yeah, I can't say the same for that. Look at that. It wants to come right off. And there's no peg hole or anything in the back to keep it on. But it does look cool, and again, I think it adds a little bit more to this figure if you don't feel like, you know, if you don't feel like straight up buying a reissue of the Venom figure. I think this adds some more to it, gives you something different to have. So aside from the tendrils and the other things that I mentioned, he does come with a couple of additional accessories, including a few sets of hands. The first pair is a set of like these crazy big clawed hands, and these are very similar to the hands that were released with the original version. They're pretty much the same thing. And then he does come with a pair of fists, which also came with the original version. And then he has a set of the smaller open hands, and those also came with the original version. So nothing new for the hands when it comes to this figure. I think this would have been a good opportunity to include some different hands, you know, that I think that would have been smart. And he does come with 3 brand new head sculpts, and I think these head sculpts are going to be the determining factor when most people are trying to decide whether to pick up this figure or not. Are these 3 new head sculpts worth it? Maybe, because some of them are pretty cool. I like this one in particular because it's really unique. It's not really a look that we get with a lot of Venom figures. Maybe that's what the idea was when they put this head on here, because most of the time you get Venom with his tongue out, his teeth all crazy. You never get like this weird like, look, it looks like he has like no nose. It's like a dog type of face. It's really, really cool. And I know a lot of people aren't really into it, but I mean, I dig it. I think it's cool. It's always cool to get something a little bit different from what we usually get. And then next up, we have like a monster Venom type of face. And I think this one's cool too. You got the crazy teeth, and you have the tongue, and the tongue's not articulated or anything. It's just kind of stuck in there. I thought for a second it was, because that kind of looked like a joint in there, but it's definitely not articulated. You've got some like venom dripping down from his chin here, or some like green ooze or whatever you want to call it. And yeah, check that out. That looks nice. I originally thought that this was the same head that we got on the original one, but actually it's not. As you could see here, this tongue is like longer and crazier. The mouth isn't as big. So I'm glad that they took the time to put in a whole new head, because they probably could have slipped this in there and maybe people wouldn't have noticed, or they would have been okay with it. I'm really glad that all 3 of the heads that are in here are brand new sculpts. So that is cool. This one's nice. And for the third head, you have an even more monstrous look. You can see that the jaw looks a little bit bigger. There's actually green ooze dripping off the chin, and then the tongue is coming out here, and in no way does any of that make any sense. So that's pretty cool for Venom, you know. The tongue is all crazy and big. And yeah, this one's gonna make for like a really cool monstrous Venom look. And for size comparisons, we have none other than the Marvel Legends Bucky Cap and the Marvel Legends Pizza Spider-Man. Next up, we have the Mafex Homecoming Spider-Man and the Marvel Legends Scarlet Spider. Next, we have Venom with the Marvel Select Infinity War Iron Man and the Marvel Select Spectacular Spider-Man. And as you can see, Venom is a good size next to the Marvel Select Spider-Man, so I'm happy that those two scale together. And now here we have the Marvel Select Carnage, which is too big, and the Marvel Select Agent Venom, which is a pretty good size. Articulation department, I feel like that's where they really dropped the ball, because they could have really made some improvements on this body, and it would have taken this figure to another level, and people would have for sure went out and bought it if they did things like added double jointed knees and gave them ankle rockers. I mean, why not? If you're going to re-release a figure 6 years later with some new heads and some other minor improvements, then why not make some big improvements that need to be made, you know, fix some of the flaws from the original figure. Like, why not give them double jointed knees? Carnage, which came out just a little bit after the original Venom, had double jointed knees and rocking ankles. So man, why? It's such a missed opportunity there. They could have taken this figure to another level, but you know, as it is, it's still a pretty cool figure. Oh, same thing with the torso joint, you know, a constant problem with Marvel Select. They don't like torso joints for whatever. They like to make us think there's torso joints, but they're hardly ever there. And again, if that's a complaint on the original, why not fix it right here? People would have bought this figure if it had those minor improvements. But anyways, let's get into the articulation here. The head is on a ball joint, moves side to side, not too much up and down. only a little bit, as you could see, pretty much nothing, just very slight up and down, and a little of you know, tilt side to side, you know, but not too much. Pretty much only this way, you know, left to right. And what sucks about that is you can't really even modify it to move. I mean, you could do that thing where, you know, you cut out a channel, but I don't know, it seems like it would be really tough on this guy. And then for the torso, it does spin a little bit, not so much. You're gonna get most of your swivel from the waist. And the torso does crunch, only to about there. Actually, let's see if we could, yeah, not very much. So, you know, one of those Marvel Select torso joints, I might have to pop them open, see what I could do. I think that people have been able to fix this in the past, but yeah, it sucks. Anyways, so that's that. Then for his arms, they're on ball jointed shoulders, so they can go all the way around. He has the upper bicep swivel, single jointed elbows, and the elbow cut is kind of blocky here. And then for the wrist, you're able to swivel, and that's about it, no hinge. For his legs, they could come out to about there, come forward to about there, only go back to about there. Upper thigh cut, single jointed knees, damn it, and his feet can go up and down, and no ankle rockers. So yeah, like I said, a couple of missed opportunities here, but you kind of, you know, you could see the figure in the box, you know what you're getting, so there's really no surprises. So overall, I'm pretty happy with this figure, but I'd have to say, if you have the original Marvel Select Venom, this one's probably not worth picking up. In my opinion, for me, it was worth it because I needed a new one anyways, and now it's cool to have all these accessories. If you're a hardcore Venom fan, I could see someone picking this up just to get these other accessories, but for the most part, I'd say, I don't know if it's worth it. It probably isn't. I don't know. If my Venom wasn't broken, I don't think I would have picked this up. So for me, it worked out. It might not work out like that for everybody, but in terms of quality of the figure is really cool. Even though it feels a little outdated, especially in terms of articulation, I'd still say that this is probably the best Venom out there. To be fair, I don't have the Revoltech one, but I don't know. I never was too interested in that one. It looked a little too crazy to me. And the Marvel Legends ones are fine, but they're, you know, they're pretty simple and they're not very exciting. This one has a lot going on. Either version has a lot going on, the regular one and this one. So there's a lot of cool things, a lot of interchangeable pieces, a lot of variety, and a lot of options when it comes to displaying him. He's just not perfect, that's all, but I would still say that he's the best Venom figure out there in this scale range, you know, between the 6-inch and 7-inch stuff. This is my favorite Venom, and I'm happy to finally have this situation fixed because, like I said, mine broke. I had it on the shelf, and it was one of those things that I just kind of ignored. For the most part, I never really took pictures of them or anything because I was just sad about it, you know. It broke, I was like, damn it, and just put it on my shelf and just kind of left it alone and forgot about it. But now I'm happy that I have this Venom figure that I could enjoy and pose and play with. Even though it's not the most posable figure, it's still a lot of fun to mess around with. So I'm happy with the purchase. But anyways, let me know what you think. Do you think this figure is worth picking up? Do you guys plan on picking it up? Let me know in the comments. But I think that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And thank you very much. Peace.